This is Today here on eNCA DSTV channel 403. A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to you. My name is William, last name Lahong. There won't be any immediate reprieve from the ongoing power cuts. As we already know, it will be a bleak winter as Eskom struggles to keep the lights on. In fact, the country is currently experiencing stage 4, 5 and 6 of power cuts with no electricity for up to 10 hours a day. Reporter Heidi Giokos has been monitoring a briefing by the Power Utilities interim CEO. Heidi joins us live now for an update. What came out of that briefing, Heidi?
Not very good news, William, and this is because we are 3,000 megawatts short compared to what we had last year winter. And the reason for this is because of that issue that emerged at Kusile, which means there is only one unit actually operating at Kusile Power Station, not being able to generate as many megawatts as it ordinarily would have. We also do know that Koeberg is up for maintenance. So we are 3,000 megawatts short. That's almost 3 stages of load shedding. We didn't have this issue last year. Supply and demand remain a very big issue. The demand is a lot higher. We are going to move into much colder days into the peak of the winter season. And Eskom has made it very clear that they are predicting a very difficult winter season ahead. We've asked the question as to what exactly we are expecting. Is it going to be stage 6? Is it going to be stage 8? And stage 8 is definitely on the cards. So South Africans really need to buckle up because Eskom has said if there is a possibility of stage 8 if there is a number of outages, which we've seen. Our power stations are unreliable. There are a number of breakdowns. There's also issues of sabotage. There are a number of factors at play here. So the possibility of moving into stage 8 is very high. Before we listen to what Eskom had to say, I want to put this into context. If we are in stage 8 load shedding every day, let's say every day for the winter period, that means we don't have power for 16 hours in one day. That's the context that we're looking at here. That is 16 hours of no electricity if we are moved into stage 8. That is very worrisome. It impacts our economy. It impacts absolutely everything. Let's listen to what the Eskom acting CEO had to say about this.
It is going to be a difficult winter, as the chairman has indicated. And in this presentation, we'll highlight the contributing factors. Substantially, we're going into this winter with 3,000 megawatts less capacity than we had during the last winter. 3 units of Kusile plus the 1 unit of Koeberg. However, the focus during this winter, first and foremost, must be the performance of the generation fleet around the energy availability factor. And in presenting this winter plan with the support of the system operator and energy planning under Mr. Skeppers, we really focused on the key objective to keep our unplanned loss factor at less than 15,000 megawatts. However, we know it's been a struggle to keep it at this level, and in maintaining that level of 15,000, that then corresponds to much more lower levels of load shedding during morning peaks, during the day and evening peaks.
And Heidi, we understand that the board chair was not very happy with the book Truth to Power, penned by former CEO Andre de Ruyter. Is the organization planning to take any legal action whatsoever against him?
Yes, so investigations are currently underway, and I must just say that there were very strong words used by the board chair, Mpho Makwana, about the book and about what came out in that book. One must remember that Andre de Ruyter was the CEO of a state-owned entity, our power utility, that's in complete distress. And it seems as though the book is not necessarily received with open arms and welcome, given the contents of that book. And the fact that he was a CEO of a national key point. Our power stations are national key points. Did he go against his contractual obligations, or will he be seen as a whistleblower, really trying to put out there what was going on at our power stations? It seems as though the board chair is not entirely happy with this. We've asked whether or not there will be criminal charges laid against Andre de Ruyter for what he has written in his book. The board chair basically saying they will wait for investigations to unfold, but he's described the book as repulsive. Let's listen to what the board chair had to say about this.
We also take note of what the former GCE said in his book, it must be noted and placed on record that trust was broken by him making those public statements and the publication of the book. And this trust was broken in the most repulsive manner possible. Transgressions in the duration, in the course of publishing this book, transgressions were carried out by an executive who was in a fiduciary position, in possession of proprietary information of a national key point, who himself evaded being vetted by processes that involve our National Security Services Agency. And most importantly, breaches occurred in terms of the Protection of Personal Information Act, various aspects of an executive director's duties as defined in the Companies Act, the PFMA, and his own contract of employment losses on confidentiality. Our corporate governance teams are reviewing all this and will take appropriate and reasonable steps to ensure that the board takes all necessary action.
And it's not an unreasonable request there from the board chair. I imagine, Heidi, in some companies we know there are things called NDAs that you sign when you leave the company, meaning anything that transpired, that you saw, that you were a part of, that you were involved in within that organization, you cannot utter a word of to anyone in a period of, they give you X amount of months, sometimes even years, depending on the role you are playing within the organization. I imagine something of that nature had to have been set in place in Andre de Ruyter's contract.
Certainly, I do think, just to re-emphasize what the board chair said there, that there were transgressions. And we also heard yesterday from the Public Enterprises Minister that he should have rather tried to deal with the allegations instead of writing a book. But as I mentioned earlier, William, many would say that what Andre de Ruyter did was what a whistleblower does, is trying to expose what is going on because he feels that nobody else is listening and nobody else really understands the extent of the rot. At the end of the day, whether he wrote the book or not, we are still sitting in load shedding. We're still sitting in rolling blackouts. South Africans don't understand and are none the wiser as to who these politicians are, what exactly transpired, and when are we going to get out of load shedding. You have the Secretary General of the ruling party on Professor J.J. Tabani's show yesterday saying by the end of this year we won't have any more load shedding, and Eskom today saying we have no idea where that's come from. So, there's a lot going on and there's a blame game happening, but at the end of the day it's just sort out the power utility, and the other issues can be sorted out, of course, if there were transgressions, and as Eskom's saying, we will investigate further.
Heidi, thank you so much for your time.